Okay. All right, so you all found the link to the class. I've moved it now up to external links, and it just says Zoom link for class and the password. So we're just going to use the same link each time. Just FYI there. I noticed that I had, as of about an hour ago, most of you had turned in the assignment, but many had not. So the place to do that is, of course, right here, week 1 homework upload. And you're going to need to do all the activities that are here if you haven't done those already. So we will go over that in just a minute. For today, I'll make this available. What we're going to be doing in class is going over the syllabus. We're going to do a section on incentives and decision making, which means we're going to use four if we get a chance, decision making models. We'll talk a little bit over the idea of wants and needs, and then you'll take off on your work for the week. Okay. So are there any, well, let's go over the work first, and then we'll see what questions we have for the, because I'm sure that y'all have some questions about the course. And so we'll do the homework briefly, and then we'll do the syllabus, and then you can unload with the questions, okay? So we have here the, oh boy, we have a lot of things to go over. Okay. Okay, so let's go over to the never too early reading since I've got it right here on the page. So what's one resource, lesson, or technique that you can use to teach K-5 economics? One reason that the authors give it. Well, one of the ones that they tell you is the Council for Economic Education Resources, an Econ Ed link. And we're going to be using those. In fact, I gave you an Econ Ed link lesson to help you with this week's homework. There's also the Federal Reserve resources. The Federal Reserve banks give many, many teaching resources, and there's the Foundation for Teaching Economics. Those are all organizations that do tons and tons of economics lessons that are age appropriate for little kids. So reconsidering wants and needs. So what are two problems with it? Can somebody want to share that with me? What's one of the problems that we have with the idea of wants and needs when we teach this?
One problem with wants and needs is that, most kids are taught like, needs are shelter, clothes, food, but there's more than just those three things. Like, if you have a job or, if you have kids, you kind of need a car to travel to point A to point B to live, or, there's a bunch of other stuff, but it's not so like cut and dry.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely one of the main ones, is that it's not as cut and dry as teachers often teach it. And teachers really do teach it cut and dry. In fact, it's amazing. You might have had this lesson when you were a student, but the way that it's generally done is that you'll have split down the middle. You have wants on this side, needs on this side, and the students will draw pictures of wants and pictures of needs, and the teachers will say what Vernon just said about what is the definition of a want and a need. But there's no real definition, because in real life it's not cut and dry. Was there another, what's another issue with it from the reading?
I was kind of just thinking about how kids like take stuff so literally. So like I think the reading said something about like you can tell a kid like food is a necessity, like that's something they need, but then they might take that as, oh well, candy's a food, so I need the candy, whereas they don't actually need it. It's more so something they want, even though it's within that list of needs.
Yeah, so candy is a food. What about an education? Is that a need? There's no right answer, because what I'm challenging here is the idea of wants and needs. And I'm going to say this, and this actually hurts the feelings of many elementary teachers, but I'm going to say it. Wants and needs is a stupid idea. It's just a dumb idea. And in my personal life, it's funny, I get to tell teachers tell people what I do. I'm like, oh, I teach economics, and they're like, oh, like wants and needs, and I'm always like, no, not like that. And it's really awkward. Okay. Has somebody ever skipped out on food? Maybe bought a less expensive food in order to buy something that's a little bit nicer that's not necessarily a need? I mean, sure, we do that sort of stuff all the time. What does the article recommend we actually do instead of teaching wants and needs? I'll call on somebody here. I'm more likely to call on the people whose cameras are off. That's your incentive for keeping your camera. Oh, Holland, you were so close to getting called on. Kayla Whittington, would you tell us what would you tell us from the reading what's one of the options that they give us for instead of teaching wants and needs? I'll give you a hint. It's in the title.
I know for mine, I wrote about teaching about resources and like scarcity. So it's more so assessing your needs and how it best fits. What choice would best fit, like opportunity cost, like weighing it that way as opposed to these things I specifically need and not.
Yeah. So whenever you're teaching about limited resources, scarce resources, you're on the right track, right? And instead of teaching wants and needs, we could say, students, you have certain resources available to you. You don't have all the resources you need. How are you going to use them? That's definitely a way that you could go. Okay. Let's go with Logan. What's another way that we could do it? Again, it's from the title is really the answer that I'm going for here. You with me, Logan? I don't have Logan. Oh, driving from where? Oh my goodness. Logan, hang up the call. It's going to be recorded. I don't want you to crash. You can just look at it on Canvas. Ella, what's the thing that we can do instead of wants and needs?
In the reading, it mentions instead of wants and needs, kind of giving them like real life situations that they can kind of incorporate, like learning how to kind of figure out like what their important needs and wants are, rather than being given like a set, this is what you need, and then the rest is what you want.
Yeah, you're on the right track when you say, have them figure out what's important. The way to finish it out would be what's important to them. You don't want them to figure out their own wants and needs, though. Somebody tell me what from the title of the reading is the thing that you can do to help the students learn their
economic. Are you looking for the word prioritize?
I'm looking for the word prioritize. Yeah. I mean, it's actually called Let's Teach Them to Prioritize. Mm-hmm. So let's do this. What I want you all to do is take just a second to write down 3 goals that you have. Prioritization involves goals. Now, different words for this are priorities, goals, or wants. Now, remember, some of your goals don't have to be long-term goals like I want to finish my education. I want to get my PhD. It can also be something for today, like I want to go home and sit on my couch and watch TV. Like that's a goal. Actually, that's something that I intend to do later on tonight when I'm done doing everything, is sit down and watch TV. My wife and I are watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's what I'm going to be watching from the 90s. Yeah, no one's ever seen that. So that's my goal tonight. Watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's really dumb. But I also have a job to send my kids to college when they grow up. So those are 2 goals that I have. I also have a 3rd goal, more medium term, to publish a research paper this semester. So I have short-term and shallow goals. I've got medium-term goals. I've got long-term goals. These are all different priorities. Would you write down on a little piece of paper and then share with us 3 goals that you have? Go to the river this weekend could be a goal. Oh, no, wait, it's the winter. Never mind. We're not going to the river. On a nice day, you might go to the river or go to the beach. Exercise enough times this week. That could be a goal. Call your mom on the phone, your grandma, that could be a goal. Start a business could be a goal. I mean, there are all kinds of things you could try. Okay, let's go through these right quick. Let's go to Kate. Oh no, Kate Sulik. Oh no, it's Caitlin Ganter. That's Spain, right?
Yeah, I'm Spain.
Kate is Catherine. Catherine, I listened to your band and you guys are really good.
Oh, thank you.
And actually just your production value is really good too. I was just very, very impressed. I actually told a couple other people about the band and had them listen to it. What are some priorities that you wrote down?
One of my priorities is to eat food because I forget to eat food.
Oh, really? Yes. Okay. Hope you can get there. What's another one? What's your other two?
Was to finish a book I'm reading, because I love reading, and then my last one, I have swim practice this week, so my goal is to actually go because it's at 7 o'clock at night and it's always freezing, so I have very little motivation to go.
Are you on the VCU team?
Yeah, there's like a club swim.
Oh, okay, club. Wow.
I don't know if they have an actual swim team, but
okay, wow, I did not know about that. All right, good. Let's go to Spain. Caitlin, would you tell us what your three goals are?
Okay, so my first one, I'm actually watching Dawson's Creek right now.
That's right in the same category.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get through 2 more episodes tonight so I can finish out the season that I'm on. And then another one was I'm doing the 100-day challenge with saving money. So pretty much you take envelopes and you label them numbers 1 through 100, and you put that equivalent amount of money into each envelope. And after 100 days, you should have a certain amount of money. So I'm trying to stick to that as best as I possibly can without taking money out and buying dinner for the night. And then my third is a long-term goal. It's actually for my mom. I want to take her on a holiday trip to a place that she's always wanted to. So for her 60th birthday, I'm going to take her to Bora Bora.
Oh, that's good. Bora Bora?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I know I'm thinking Tora Bora in Afghanistan.
No, Bora Bora with a B.
Okay, where is that?
It's a French Polynesian country. So it's very Caribbean-like. If you think of the Maldives, it's pretty much like that.
Okay, wow, these are great goals. I have so many thoughts about Dawson's Creek, which I'm not going to share with you all right now. Does anybody else have any goals they'd like to share with us? Well, I'd like to get one more person.
I could go.
Oh, Kara said it first.
It's actually Kara.
Oh, darn, Kara.
You're good. So my goals are, my first one is go to the gym at least 3 times this week. My second one is get good grades this semester. And then my third one is finish everything I need to do this week for my assignments.
Okay, yeah, very student goals, very important goals. Okay, so when we teach students to prioritize, one thing that we have to call attention to is that some of these goals might conflict with each other, right? Can you think how that might happen? So let's say that your goal is to go to the gym, finish all your stuff for class, and I'm sorry, Carl, what was the third one?
It was get good grades this semester, go to the gym, and then finish all my work this week.
Okay, yeah. So is there a way that going to the gym enough times might get in the way of one of your other 2 goals?
Yes, yeah, it could probably.
Right. So you have gone to the gym, let's say once, but you've still got a bunch of work to do. And so you have a choice between whether you're going to go to the gym or whether you're going to do your assignments. Let's say Spain. Is there a way that your goals could conflict with each other? Yours are short-term and long-term.
Mm-hmm.
So
I definitely think that both of my money-related goals would knock heads with each other. Sorry, my dog's next to me and he has a squeak toy. So say like the envelope challenge that I'm trying to do, I keep dipping into that and I'm not saving money. Well, that could affect the trip that I want to take with my mom.
Actually, I think that saving the money and taking your mom on a trip, those probably both kind of go in the same direction, right? Because yeah, you save money for the trip. Watching Dawson's Creek, I mean, you could be doing something, you could be earning more money. You could be doing some work to save money instead of buying something rather than watching TV. You could be not paying for the streaming service or however you're doing it. So that's a way that maybe your short-term goal of watching TV could get in the way of the long-term too. And so what we do is we prioritize. And what you can have your students do is do like similar to what we've done right here. Have them write a list of things that they want, have them organize the list in priority of 1, 2, 3. And actually, would you all please do that right now? Because I didn't have you. Just really fast. What's the number 1 thing on your list you want? Write a number 1 by it. What's the number 2 thing? Write a number 2. And then the number 3 thing, write the 3. So Kate Sulik, if you had to pick a number, if you could only get 1 of your 3 things, I'm sorry, let's give you 2. If you could get 2 of your 3 things, what would be the third one? What would be the one that you would not choose? What would be the one that you would run out of time to do?
I'm trying to remember what I was said.
You want to go to swim practice, you want to read a book, and you want to eat. Which one of those would you pass on?
Probably finish the book.
Okay, because you'd be letting your teammates down if you didn't go to swim practice, and you'd be unhealthy and woozy if you didn't eat. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. So sometimes, so we got to prioritize, and sometimes in this case, it's going to be the book that falls off the bottom. So she gets her number 1 choice. She gets her number 2 choice. What's the thing? What's the next best choice that she doesn't get? What's that called?
That's the opportunity cost, right?
Thank you, Kayla. Opportunity cost is usually the right answer in economics. So yeah, so that's her opportunity cost. Kate, if you had to give up one of the other, let's say there was an emergency, you ran out of time, which would you give up first, the eating or the swim practice?
Swim practice.
Okay, so you might actually call them to swim practice and you're going to be healthy and eat. That's good. In that case, what's the opportunity cost?
The swim team. The
swim practice and the book, right?
Yeah.
No, I tricked you. It's always choice number 2, right? It's always the next thing that you give up. I promise you all I'm going to test you on that.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the opportunity cost is always the last thing that you give up. You get your choice, and then the next thing you give up is the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is never more than 1 thing. Okay. All right, so we're going to teach students to prioritize, and you notice that when you do this, instead of teaching wants and needs, the concept of scarcity, resources, and opportunity cost all loops in. It all goes together. This is economic thinking, and we're going to work to do it a little more systematically when we do the decision-making models. Okay, we do need to go over the ManQ textbook questions, though, don't we? So let's do that. I'll try to do it relatively quickly. I apologize for the ugly looking PDF from the copy, but y'all, it's this or it's by a textbook, and we're not going to be doing that much textbook work. So I actually used to have students buy used textbooks, like the $30 textbook, but they complained even about the cost of that. So now I just do PDFs. But I figured you all would appreciate not having to buy the big expensive textbook.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I was hoping somebody would say that. I'm trying to look out for y'all. Okay. And actually, we're going to do an assignment later on the price of textbooks. It's kind of a scandal, I believe. So going down here to the questions. Okay, it is the 3 to 7. Oh, I've lost it. Okay, so number 3. So you're planning on spending Saturday working at your part-time job, but the friends ask you to go skiing. What is the true cost of going skiing? So let's go. So, I mean, what's choice number 2 there, y'all?
Not being able to work.
Yeah. You could be a little more precise and say you're giving up the things that you would have bought with the money from working, actually. But we'll just say going to work is your opportunity cost. So that is the true cost of skiing, going to missing work plus the money that you would spend having to go ski. So you have those opportunity costs of giving up an opportunity. Then you have the explicit cost of paying money. All right, now say that you had been planning on spending the day studying at the library. Now the cost of going skiing, I'll go through this, is studying at the library plus the explicit cost, the money cost of skiing. You could be a bit more specific in saying that your opportunity cost is getting good grades, because that's what you're really giving up by not going to the library. Okay, number 4, you win $100 in a basketball pool. You have a choice between spending the money now or putting it away in an account that pays 5% interest. What is the, you're investing your money in GameStop and earning 5% interest. And what's the opportunity cost of spending the $100 now?
It would be putting the money away in the bank account, right?
Yeah. And if you want to be a bit more specific,
not having like enough money to spend later.
Yeah, good. So it's the so oh, let's see, so if you spend the $100 now, then you have money now, but you're giving up even more money in the future. So bear in mind, students, you know this from your EPF course, the more that you're able to push your consumption off to the future, the more you're going to spend, or the more you're going to have to consume over the course of your life. All right. I always, when students, when people graduate and get their first job, you tend to feel pretty rich, but you're not actually that rich. It's important to really create a plan to spend your money over the long term. Okay, number 5. This is one that trips students up a lot, actually. The company that you manage has invested $5 million to develop a new product, but development is not quite finished. At a recent meeting, your salespeople report that the introduction of competing products has reduced your expected sales down to $3 million. So you've already spent $5 million developing this thing. You're only going to earn $3 million off it. This is a disaster. Now, let's say that in order to finish it off and get that $3 million, it would cost an additional $1 million to finish development. Should you do it?
No.
Why do you say no, Holland?
I said no because you're going to be losing like $3 million, right? Because if the cost of it is you've already put $5 million in, and you're only going to make $3 million, then aren't you losing $2 million right there?
Yeah.
And then if you put another $1 million in, aren't you losing $3 million?
Yeah. Well,
I was confused on that one, so I'm probably wrong, but that's what I
appreciate you speaking up. Let's go to our concept, our 6th economic concept from the economic way of thinking. The consequences of our choices lie in the future. And so we should not be caught by the fallacy of the sunk cost. What is a sunk cost?
What you put into it?
What you put into it in the past.
Yeah.
Right? Which you can't get back, right? So that $5 million is gone. You're not going to get it back. It's in the past. It's a sunk cost. It's not going to even enter into our decision making anymore. It's gone. What's in front of us in the future is we can spend $1 million to get $3 million. Should we do it? And when you put it like that, the answer becomes pretty clear, right? Spend $1 million to get $3 million. Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So that $5 million, it was a red herring. It was meant to trick you, and it usually tricks people. But that's what we're doing here. It's
Wait, I have a question on that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you already put $5 million in though, and then you see that the $1 million is only give you $3 million, why would it still be good to do it if you're then lose? Like, I just am thinking like then you're still losing that $2 million. Because do you see what I'm like?
Okay, well, let's look at it like this. So again, forget about the $5 million because that's are we agreed on that? $5 million is gone in the past. So right now you've, if you don't spend that $1 million to finish developing it, then you don't get the $3 million. Thing remains unfinished. But if you do spend that $1 million, you finish the product and then you get 3. So the answer here is, if you say yes to the question, you finish the production, your net gain from now is going to be $2 million. Now, the whole project, you lost money on it, but we're not thinking about that now. We're not thinking about the 5 million. Economic choice making is about what we can do starting right now. Does that make sense more?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely will be asking you more sunk cost questions in the future. All right. Okay, so the Social Security system provides income for people over age 65. If a recipient of Social Security decides to work and earn some income, the amount he or she receives in Social Security benefits is typically reduced. If you don't know, Social Security is basically a required savings program for old people in America. The government taxes you through your payroll tax, and they put it in an account. And then when you're 65, actually you're not getting your money back. They have already spent your money by then, but you get some other working person's money at that point. It's a pension plan so that old people are not in poverty. Okay, it was made during the Great Depression. So how does the provision of Social Security affect people's incentive to save while working? Probably the most, one possible answer here is that maybe people say, I don't need to save as much because Social Security will be there for me when I'm old. So that's one possibility. And how does the reduction in benefits associated with higher earnings affect people's incentive to work past age 65? So what they're trying to do here is they're trying to what they're trying to do with the policies, they're trying to save money. They're trying to say, look, if you're still working after age 65, you don't need Social Security as much. So we're not going to pay you as much because you're a working person, right? This program is to keep old people from being in poverty when they're too old to work. However, when we're looking at people respond predictably to incentives, what incentive would this give to people who are over age 65?
Would it potentially be that they wouldn't have to work, or they would want to work much less because then Social Security would give them more benefits?
Yeah, they'd say, why should I work if Social Security, if I could just stay at home and Social Security will pay me money? And so right here, they have an incentive probably not to work as much. On the other hand, people make different choices. It might not affect some people's choices because they could say, well, shoot, now I'll have 2 monies. I'll have the money that I got from working and I'll have the Social Security money. So some people would definitely still choose to work. But notice that if your benefits are reduced, then the amount that you're getting on the margin for working is actually less. So this is about incentives. Okay, then the last one, in 1996, reforming the federal government's anti-poverty programs limited welfare recipients to 2 years of benefits. You all, of course, were not born yet. Yeah, boy, you weren't born in 1996, were you? So before this, people could stay on welfare programs really for an indefinite period of time. And in this 1996 welfare reform, it was a compromise between a Republican Congress led by Newt Gingrich and Democrat President Bill Clinton. And they said, after 2 years on welfare benefits, you're off. It's called welfare to work. And I won't go into all the implications of what happened at the end of it. But this definitely is going to, give people an incentive to work because because they're kicked off the program. So if the idea is if they don't work, they won't have any money at all. That's not entirely what happened, by the way. What's happened since then is a lot of people who got kicked off federal welfare after 2 years moved on to state welfare programs, and others of them applied for disability benefits through the federal government. So a lot of people moved on to disability after all. But some people went to work. The welfare rolls in the US went way down after 1996. So this is a trade-off between equality and efficiency, because when we have social safety nets, social programs where taxpayer money funds funds programs, entitlement programs, and welfare programs to keep people from falling into poverty. It also can keep the income of the very poorest people a little bit higher. And that could make our country a little bit more equal in terms of income. On the other hand, to have a more equal country that might have more welfare, you might decrease the efficiency in that people won't wanting to work as much. So people who might have been able to work and pay into the system would instead decide not to and take out of the system. And so the reason this is an economic concept that was there in your book, because it shows that we want equality. We also want efficiency. We want both those things. We want people working and contributing. We want people taken care of. And those things sometimes are at odds with each other. And this is another example of the concept of scarcity. We can't reach all our goals at the same time, either as individuals or as a nation. So we need to make tough choices. All right. Okay, any questions about anything from the homework? We will have quizzes in this class. Like I said, they won't be as big a part of the class as an in-person class until we get in person. And things from this assignment right here, I'll definitely give problems like this when the quiz comes. All right. How are we doing on time? 4:04. We're doing okay. I don't know if we're doing okay because we got to learn about these decision-making models. So let's do this. A decision-making model is a way to systematize and organize your thinking about a decision. I've told it to you in words. We've talked about prioritizing, but we're going to model it now so that you can organize your thoughts. So, we're going to, let's go to actually the assignment in the end. I'll show you the assignment first. I'm going to get rid of this window and bring this one. So your assignment is going to be to answer these questions. You're going to need to describe economic decision making as choosing between wants and needs that's problematic. Why is it problematic? What's a different way and how might it be better? We just talked about it. Great, but I want you all to know this one. Number two, you have to do a decision-making model for deciding whether or not to hang out with a particular friend. Should you do it or not? Even though that friend is being a bad friend. You're thinking about wanting to do with your life after college. You've got 3 choices. What decision-making model would be best for that? And then lastly, what should you do if you're an elementary school teacher and you've got a trade-off in deciding what kind of work you should be doing? All right, so that's where we're going with this right now. Okay, you can get guidance from 2 places. You can go here to the Virginia Council on Economic Education website. It says that it distrusts going to this website. That's kind of silly. It's a good website. And this website is a little bit elementary in the way that they describe things, but it's kind of nice because you have a woman, actually my friend and colleague, Ruth Cookson, is going to teach you about cost-benefit model, decision-making tree model, and the paced grid. We're going to go really fast here in class today. You might not catch it all, but you can go back here and she'll explain it to you slowly, really slowly, too slowly for me, but that's going to be there for you. Also, I gave you a lesson plan from econedlink.org called You Decide, where it's an elementary school lesson about the paced decision-making model. And you can just go there for guidance if you need guidance. You do not need to do this as an assignment. It's just for help. Okay, so let's start off with paced. I'm going to go here to this lesson entitled A College for Maria. Where do we have this is what a paced decision-making model looks like. Make this a little bigger for you. And a paced decision-making model is good for, and by the way, this is what you need to know for homework so that you do the right thing. It's good for when you have multiple alternatives or multiple criteria. I mean, when you have more than 2 alternatives for your choices. So when you have choice A, B, and C, or A, B, C, and D, or A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, you can have infinite alternatives, actually. Whenever you have more than 2 alternatives, that's when you're going to want to use PASTE, this grid. What does PASTE stand for? Well, it's an acronym. P is for problem. Define what your problem is. And you're going to do that right here at the very top of the decision-making grid. The problem. Number 2 is list your alternatives. And you're going to do this on the very top, or I'm sorry, on the side, on the column, where you're going to say what you possibly could do. So let's say that you are, a politician, and you know that you've only got so much political capital. People, they'll say, well, we've got President Biden is our new president, and Biden can only do so many things that he wants to accomplish before he starts burning up all of his favors in Washington and making people angry at him. That's what all politicians face. And so let's say that he wants to raise taxes on the wealthy, or he wants to re-regulate areas of the economy that were deregulated during the Trump administration. Or let's say that he wants to do a large green power initiative. These are all things that maybe he'd like to do. And he thinks he can probably push one of those things through Congress. He's an experienced congressman, he knows. And so he only has so much political capital. President Biden would put there on the right hand, or that far left column, he'd list those there under alternatives. That's his alternatives. Now, across the top goes the C, the criteria. So what sorts of things does he value? And bear in mind, this kind of has to do with the priorities that I had you doing earlier. Everybody has priorities, everybody has values. He would need to decide what he actually wants to accomplish. So let's say under criteria, he would do what's a common goal for his party, which would be create more equality, right? There's that equality efficiency trade-off. Maybe he wants more equality. Maybe he wants a long-term legacy, and maybe he wants something that can keep him popular so that he wins re-election. All right. And so going through all those things aren't going to all be quite equal. Or those things are going to all have different scores associated with them. For example, green power might be good for the lasting legacy, but on the other hand, a lot of green power initiatives can actually fall hardest on the low-income people. And so that might help him in his long-term legacy goal, but hurt him with his equality goal. There are trade-offs in all the things that we do. Okay, so once you've done your alternatives and your criteria, you're going to evaluate them. And we're going to do this by putting numbers in these boxes here. On a scale of, actually you can do any scale, I like 1 to 5. Sometimes people use checks, pluses, and minuses. But what I like to do is a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being best and 1 being worst. And this is a little weird, but I think you can cheat on it some by giving one category a possible higher score. Because what I find when I do the PACE decision-making model is sometimes there's one thing that ends up being my main priority, and I feel like that should just get a heavier score than everything else. Another alternative there is that if there's other things that aren't as important to you, you can just give them a lower score. Let's say that what Biden really wants is the lasting legacy. And equality be darned. And so we maybe give ourselves a 5 for lasting legacy, but the equality score would be much, much, much lower, like a 1, because that's not as important to him. I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth. All right, so we put numbers here. So that's, actually, they don't have the example that I like right here. I'm going to go straight to the VCE, economic decision making. And they use a really elementary one. They use What Pet Should I Get from Dr. Seuss.
Economic decision making. And now we need to make a decision.
Okay, so in theirs, notice that she gave a double score to affectionate because that's her #1 priority for a pet. Easy to care for and no extra cost are a little bit lower. That's her way of making that her main priority. She doubled that score. Really, this is kind of arbitrary. It's just a thinking tool for you. As long as you kind of set it up right, I won't count you off so much. The numbers are not as important because the numbers are just what you choose to put in there. So now you put numbers in 6, 2, 2, you add them up at the end, and then the score becomes what you decide. That's the D in paste. So obviously she's going to pick the cat as most affectionate and definitely more easy to care for than the dog, which is high maintenance, even though super affectionate. And that's what she leaves us with.
So mine just.
So do you recommend doubling the first column so you get a more effective score?
Yeah, you know what? Go ahead and do that. That actually, I had forgotten that was the method that this video takes. And since I've recommended the video to you and I think that works, go ahead and do that. Double one column. By the way, she chooses number 10. What's the opportunity cost here?
The one that scored number 9?
Yes. Are you sure it's not the one 9 and 7?
No, it's just 9.
Yeah. Can't trick you all anymore. Good. Okay. So that's the pace decision-making model. Again, the numbers are kind of arbitrary. One thing that you actually are allowed to do is when you get to the end of it and you don't like the choice that the model has spit out, that means that something went wrong earlier. You can go back and erase and change it and get the answer that you want. The thing that it's supposed to do is just clarify your possibilities. I used to do this when I used to teach world history with the 6 wives of Henry VIII. What should Henry VIII do when faced with a succession crisis that's attached to the fact that he's married to the niece of the Emperor of Spain? You know, you can do this with anything. You can do it with history. You can do it with your own choices. You can do it with policy choices, whatever. I do not endorse what Henry VIII actually decided to do. All right, moving on to another decision-making model. Sorry, I've got
What I gave up was having a dog.
All right. Sorry, I have so many windows open right now that I'm having to shuffle back and forth. Okay, next is one of the most simple and most important of all of them, and that is just called the cost-benefit analysis. And, sorry, where's my pointer? There we go. So cost-benefit analysis. You're going to start this off by just making a simple T. And as you can imagine, here is where we put benefits and costs, for crying out loud. This is the simplest of all the models, and it's good for when you are just analyzing one choice. Should I do this thing? And you're really trying to laser focus on that one choice. That's what I have down there is this cost-benefit analysis. Best for when you are focused on one choice. Now, there's one problem with this that you need to be careful of is that when you need to include the opportunity cost down here. That's what you need to do in your costs. And so you need to identify what your next best thing would be. But let's go ahead and say, let's do a cost and benefit analysis for coming to class today. Coming to class today online. You could have not come to class today, but you decided to come to class today. Good for you. Can we go to Madison? Madison, would you tell us what's one benefit of coming to your economics class?
Learning the material.
That is the correct answer. Learning is the most important thing. Let's go to Vanessa. Would you tell us another benefit of attending class today?
I don't know. I feel like that's the biggest one. Maybe seeing peers or like getting to know the professor too.
You'd go, or becoming closer, you're getting to know your peers. Yeah. Michaela, could you tell us another one?
Ooh. I guess understanding what like next week homework might be, or like.
Yeah. Yeah, you get your tips on homework. Very good. Okay, good. What are some costs? What did you give up by coming to class?
We could have been doing something else.
Okay, so that's your opportunity cost, right? So you would actually include here what your next best choice would be. If I wasn't doing this, I would be doing other work, and that would be a really boring opportunity cost. What's let me actually ask somebody. Let's go to Kalena. Kalena, would you tell us what would you be doing if you didn't come to class today?
I'd probably be napping.
Napping, popular choice, right? Good. So you gave up feeling rested and happy, and you came to Econ instead, where you could be tired and sad. I'm flattered that you came. So that's your opportunity cost, but notice there's also explicit costs. There's using bandwidth on your internet. Maybe you have a lot of people you live with. I mean, I don't know if that actually matters. Usually when we're in person, there's the cost of gas, the cost of parking. All those costs are lower when you're online, isn't it? Yeah. It's a hassle. You could just watch the video when I get around to posting it, but you know what? You guys really get the benefit by being here and being able to ask me the questions that you want to ask. And sometimes it takes me a while to process the video and post. In fact, I've heard that it didn't even really work this last week. Actually, can I ask you all about that while we're at it? Was anybody able to access the video from last week's class? Did anybody try?
I tried and
did it not work?
It didn't work.
I uploaded it straight to Canvas. There's a Kaltura plugin, and I think maybe it just didn't work. So in the future, I'll put these video recordings on YouTube, and I'll just post them that way, but it takes longer. It takes a long time to upload to YouTube and process, especially when it's a huge file. Sometimes I often don't have time to do it right after class, so bear with me on that. It's best to just come to class. I'll make other parts of this class a priority over posting the videos. All right, so that's cost benefit analysis. Pretty easy, right? I'm going to let you learn the decision tree by yourself. That is on the VCEE website that I showed you. That's just here. That's cost benefit and decision tree. That's this video right there.
Is that what we were setting up, the tree? Or was that the chart?
No, that's not the tree. Let me see if I can find you a picture of the tree. That's the tree right there.
Okay.
And here's what I have here's my tree. Why did it do that? That's a decision tree for me. You have to choose, you have a choice. And that's where you're going to be at. And you use a decision tree when there's two clear choices. Should I go on spring break with my friends, or should I go back home and see my family? That's when you're being really clear about what your potential opportunity cost is going to be. And all that a decision tree is just two cost benefit analyses just right next to each other. Bam, side by side. What do you decide? The one that you don't choose gets to be the opportunity cost. Very simple. This next one that I'm going to do is not simple. So we're going to dig into this a bit more.
Wait, I have a quick question before we go on to this.
Sure, go ahead.
Is the chart only like subcategory of the tree? You can't use a chart to decide this?
You mean the paste? What do you mean by chart?
What we were just doing with the the T diagram? Yeah,
so the T diagram, that's called a cost benefit analysis.
Okay.
The tree is just two cost benefit analysis right next to each other. And the PACE diagram is a chart. All those things, yeah, there are three different things. And frankly, this website is going to teach it to you. And I hope I'm not evading the question, but it's straightforward enough that you should be able to learn it using this website, okay? I really want to get through the thing that's hard to learn, and that is the production possibilities curve. Let's say that you can do two things. You have a choice between, well, in this case, it's a little bit consumption, watching TV actually. But let's say that you have two choices of how to spend your time, watching shows or studying econ. And we're going to measure this by number of shows watched or or the possible grade gotten. So the number of shows you can watch per night, or you can watch one show, watch two, watch three. You can watch 4 shows. You can just binge Dawson's Creek all that you want. Now, studying for econ, if you don't study well, you get an F. Or D. Sorry, that's a little squirrely. Okay. Now, what you can do with this is you can, you've got to make a choice about what you spend your time doing. Let's say you really love watching your shows with your friends. So let's say that if you watched 4 shows, you very pretty much likely, y'all, you're going to get an F if you just watch TV. So there you go. At 4 shows, I didn't do that quite right. If you go to 4 shows, you get an F. If you watch 3 shows, you're likely to get a D. 2 shows, you're likely to get a C. 1 show a night, you get an A. And if you just concentrate on school and don't watch any shows, you're going to get an A. Makes sense, right? Okay. And then what we do is we just link all these together. And we assume that you can watch parts of shows, fractions of shows, and you can get fractions in between D's and fractions in between grades. And so that's why the numbers are all connected, right? This is called, as you can see there in the title, production possibilities. It's a production possibilities frontier. Production possibilities frontier. It's called a frontier because anything inside here you can produce, but this line is the frontier. That's as far as you can go with producing stuff. Now let's say, I'm going to make this a little weird. Let's say that you find a helpful website like Econ EdLink, a legal website that allows you to be a lot more productive at economics. And so that allows you to, sorry, I'm having to extend this line and it's ugly. So that allows you to be more productive with economics. Notice that we've pushed out the econ side of the PPF. I don't like what I've done here. It's kind of ugly. It's going to have to work. You push out that side of the PPF and for crying out loud. So now this is what we have with our new innovation. We have an innovation in learning economics, and I'm just going to label that innovation. That's what that is. So the question is, what can we do with this innovation? Let's say that what you do in real life is you watch 2 shows and you get a C. When you start off, you watch 2 shows each night, you're aiming at a C. You could choose to watch one show and get a B. You could watch 3 shows and get a D, but you're going to watch 2 shows and get a C because you love your shows. But now you have this innovation. You're no longer on this red line. You're now on this blue line. And now that you're moving lines, because this is economics, you have a choice to make, don't you? Economics is all about choices. In fact, this line, these lines represents trade-offs. So where do you want to be on this line now that you have this innovation? Let me ask you a funny question. Would it be possible, now that you've gotten better at economics through this innovation, to actually get a lower econ grade? Is that possible on this graph? Look anywhere on that blue line. Is there anything on that blue line lower than the C that you started with? So here's where we are. Let's say that we're at watching TV. Let's say that we're still aiming at a C. We could still get a C and we could watch 3 shows. That'd be great. Look at this. We could get a D and watch 3.5 shows. So notice that with this innovation, we could use it to actually get worse grades and watch more TV. What's going on here? What's going on here is just saying, oh, now that I have this, this new website that helps me do economics better, I can still get an okay grade and I can watch all the TV that I want. You're prioritizing TV. Or what you could do is you can watch your 2 shows and you can get an A. I think y'all would generally decide to watch the 2 shows and get an A, right? But you have this choice that you make between which thing you're going to do. And what makes economics kind of neat and counterintuitive is that you see that by using this decision-making model, you have a range of choices, and some of them are counterintuitive when you have this increase in productivity as a result of an innovation. All right. Now, what you've seen in class today and what you can get from the video that I've showed you should make you enough to do the homework assignment. All right. Please take a look at the syllabus. I didn't go over it again, but I will say this. Pay attention to the attendance policy on it, okay? Because I'll give you 5% extra credit at the end of the year if you miss 2 or fewer classes, all right? So I really hope you all are going to be here on the Zoom call. I know some professors only kind of expect it. I do expect you to be here. I do hope you'll be here. It definitely adds to the class and adds to the discussion. And I want you to continue building a professional community because many of you will be teachers. And I want you to know each other and be able to bounce ideas off each other as well. Okay. I'm going to pause the recording and you